If you're looking for history of the West, then True West Magazine is your source for the most current information. Bob, what is the core mission of True West Magazine?
Well, it's our job to keep the Old West and the history alive. And by doing that, we want to tell an accurate history. And I remember being at my grandmother's house, and we were watching Wyatt Earp, and she pointed at the TV, and she said Wyatt Earp was the biggest jerk who ever walked the West. And I'm going, wow, the guy on TV drinks milk and cleaned up every cow town in the West, and he's a paragon of virtue. And here my grandmother saying he's a jerk. And I thought, wow, somebody's not telling the truth. So I immediately went down to Desert Drugs in downtown Kingman and bought the latest issue of True West. And I've been reading it ever since. In fact, we bought the magazine in 1999 to keep alive the idea that you want to know the truth, okay, about these Western characters, and that's our mission.
And this has been around a long time, but how did you get into this magazine, and how did you become involved with this magazine?
Well, this is a magazine I read since I was a tiny, tiny little boy. I was 9 years old, and I was just really enamored of the Old West and Westerns on TV. And I wanted a Range Rider jacket just like he had. It took me 55 years, but I finally got it a couple of years ago, thanks to this magazine. So I've got a lot of history that goes in this magazine. I've been reading it for a long time, and it's an honor to be the executive editor of the magazine for the last 16 years.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this then. In order to keep the True West alive through a magazine, what does your average day look like to get these kind of stories on a regular basis?
Well, it depends. Some stories we work on for a long time. Others are slam dunks. Some are just no-brainers. Some are recycling, so it really runs the gamut. But the exciting thing is that the stories change. Things that we believed about Billy the Kid 50 years ago are no longer true. Everybody thought it was the left-handed because the tintype showed him apparently left-handed. In fact, that led to the movie The Left-Handed Gun with Paul Newman.
Really?
But then some woman was looking at the photo and she said, you know, his buttons are on the wrong side of that vest. And then the gun guys came in and he said, the loading mechanism on the rifle is on the wrong side. Oh, it's flopped. So scratch that. We no longer believe he's left-handed, okay?
Well, one of the things that I've noticed across all of the magazines are the historic photos. Are those hard to find, hard to get hold of?
Well, one of our partners, he's the publisher emeritus, is Robert McCubbin. He's the foremost collector of Old West photos in the world.
There you go.
And so we have access to him and his wonderful collection. We scan right from the originals.
Wow.
And that makes all the difference in the world because some of these photos look like Xeroxes by the time they've been run so many times. So when you go back to the original, it's just fascinating. And we like to run the entire card. A lot of times people crop in on just the image, but sometimes the card and what's written on it, or the date or some scratch here is just wonderful. And so we love photos. Photos is our bread and butter, and we do issues where we run nothing but photos.
Well, you've done a fantastic job, and I certainly appreciate the work that you've done, and thank you for keeping True West alive.
My pleasure.